Alrighty, so it's the day after a busy midweek action in the MLS regular season, and really, this is the first time in the 2022 MLS regular season that we have that many games that happen on Wednesday night. But in terms of this 10-game action on Wednesday, well, there was definitely some interesting storyline, but certainly one that stood out is that I finally saw something that I've been waiting to see for now more than a year and a half, and I'll just kind of leave it to that because I don't want to spoil in terms of what actually happened until I get to near the end of this video. But let us actually begin with the first game, which is DC United versus NYCFC. And keep in mind, I think there's only 3 games that I actually watch it in full because, you know, I did attend that game between the Quakes and the Portland Timbers, and I wasn't able to really watch most of these games because I, of course, attended that one. So a lot of these games you can definitely will see with the lack of notes. That's because I, of course, watch the YouTube highlights, and I basically put as much notes that as I found in terms of those highlights that I found on the league's YouTube website, not the league YouTube website, but the league YouTube channel, that is. I mean, they kind of have a YouTube website, but it's really their channel. Anyway, but in the first game, we got NYCFC and DC United, and in the end, NYCFC was able to win 2-0 against DC, and at least in the first 15 minutes, I mean, it was kind of a sign to see that, yeah, DC looked like they weren't going to get a goal in this one, because just 2 minutes into this one, Smith struck the post from close hand, and then in the very next opportunity for either of these teams in the 5th minute, Callens would score from Gloucester and Rodriguez to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. I mean that has to suck if you're a DC fan, seeing your team came close on one end and then just 3 minutes later concede on the other. Though it probably wouldn't have happened if Romo would have done better in this. I mean, you know, this one looked like it was headed straight to Romo from Alexander Callens, and that, you know, if Hamid was in goal, I think that would have been saved. But nevertheless, NYCFC would take it. They lead 1-0, and then on the other end, just 7 minutes later, it was Flores' turn to struck the post for DC, and I immediately wrote DC was getting snake bit by the post early, and it just felt like that was a telling sign that, yeah, it seems like they're not going to score one tonight. Then Castellanos had a chance in the 30th minute as he heads it wide from close range before Romo tipped Parks' long-range effort over. Romo then denied Parks from 17 yards out. I mean, Romo actually had a decent game for DC, but, you know, as the life of the goalkeeper, it doesn't matter how many good saves you made. If you make one mistake, you're always going to remember. And yeah, you know, for DC fans, I think they would look at that moment in the 5th minute as a moment where yeah, you know, maybe Romo didn't have a good game because of that. But I think even in this one, it doesn't really matter, because even if Romo didn't concede the goal, DC, you know, they didn't score in this game, and as long as you would concede one more goal, which we saw them do in this one, yeah, I mean, they weren't going to get the win either way. Morales then hits it high from a corner in the 38th minute before Romo denied Magno in the front post. Then a penalty was given to NYCFC. I mean, up to this point, it was all NYCFC. They were pressing to get that second goal, and they had a chance to do so as VAR deemed that Heinz Ike handballed it in the box, which Tati Castellanos steps up to score the penalty in the 5th minute of stoppage time. And yeah, we head to halftime with NYCFC leading 2-0 against DC. Now, in the second half, you know, we talked about a lot of chances that happened in the first half, mostly come from NYCFC. That was not the case in the second half. In fact, there was not much happening in the first 20 minutes of the game. The first real opportunity was once again coming from NYCFC as Callens heads one straight to Romo, and that this time Romo was able to hang on to that one, unlike what we saw back in the 5th minute. Johnson then robbed Birnbaum, who had a header that was deflected, and then Taxi Funtas, who came into the second half. I mean, he went through on goal, but he missed that one wide, and that's one that Taxi Funtas would definitely want to have back, because, you know, with how hot he's been, 9 out of 10 times he basically buried that one into the back and net. But there was no doubt that DC was trying to push late to get one back and set up a grandstand finish. Pines missed wide on the header in the 89th minute, but in the end, NYCFC hold on to win 2-0 in this one. As the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 8 that DC had, no shots on goal compared to 6 that NYCFC had. Keep in mind, you know, when you hit the post, it doesn't count as a shot on goal. So DC actually didn't had a shot in this one, though. Again, for some that will say, well, what about the save that Johnson had on Birnbaum? Remember, that shot was deflected. So when a shot is deflected, that also doesn't count as a shot on goal, because when you basically shoot it and it's kind of deflected off of someone, it basically counts in the stats category. But in terms of shots on goal, both teams had 4 shots off target, 2 shots that was blocked with the 4 that DC had, and possession-wise, NYCFC had the better possession, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that DC had in this game. And yeah, for NYCFC, really a perfect road game that they play in this one, and they're now just 1 point back in terms of the top spot in the Eastern Conference, and they also have a game in hand over the team that is at the top of the Eastern Conference, which that team that is at the top of the Eastern Conference is Philadelphia Union, who of course regained their spot at the top of the Eastern Conference with a 0-0 draw against Inter Miami. But in many ways, this was one of those 0-0 draw where, we've seen before this season with these 0-0 draw, either these are just kind of boring 0-0 draw where, it's a game to forget for everyone, or it's a 0-0 draw that kind of left everyone head scratch of how in the world did that game end without a goal, with the amount of chances that was happening. And in this game, that was kind of the latter. I mean, this was a game. There was boatloads of chances for both of these teams, and it was there surely should have been a goal in this one, and yet somehow we end this game with no score between both of these teams. Now, early on in the 3rd minute, Vasilev hits one straight to Blake before a calendar denying Flock, and on the follow-up, Bedoya blasts one into the stands. I thought Drake Calendar probably had his best game in this one for Inter Miami between the stake, because in the 15th minute he denied Gastak in the back post, and Philly was pushing early to try to get the opener, though in the 21st minute probably the closest that anyone has came from scoring the opener was Leo Campana, as he struck the post on a curler after just a bad turnover from the Union defensive end. I mean, that's something rare to say, because we know this season the Union has been very good on the defensive part. Sailor then heads it wide from close before Glesnes also struck the post after a calendar basically gifted right to the Union, and both teams was getting close to the opening goal. Taylor then fired it wide from 25 yards out in the 44th minute, but despite the amount of chances that both teams got, we stay scoreless heading into the second half. In the second half, it was pretty much the same. Chances coming in for both ends. Bizo had the first opportunity of the half, but he hits it straight to calendar before Duke fires it high from 10 yards out, and Bryce Duke would definitely want to have that one back. I mean, he did all the hard work there to get into a good space, but he just couldn't show that clinical finishing to put it in. Elliott then fired a 19-yard shot out wide, and then Blake robbed Duke, who was trying to slide that one in the 55th minute. And again, this game continued to be open, and it continued to be back and forth with the way that there's chances for both of these teams. Elliott then hits one straight to Calendar before Calendar denied Burke after just a WTF turnover from Miami. I mean, there was a couple of times that, both of these defense were making some very sloppy mistakes, but because of the lack of finishing in this game, both defense was kind of left off the hook time and time again. McVay then tried to head it in for Miami, but his shot, of course, was missed wide, and then Gastak hits one straight to Calendar before the Union had the last chance of this game, as Burke tried to hit the winner from close range, but he hits it straight to Calendar. And again, despite the boatload of chances, and despite both teams combined of 29 shots in this one, none of them actually ends up in the back of the net, and it ends in a scoreless draw. And the shots in this one, as I mentioned, 20 shots compared to 9 that Miami has combined of 29 shots. It was 10 shots on goal for both of these teams, 8 shots on goal compared to 2 that Miami has, 5 shots off target compared to 9 that Philly has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Union has. And possession-wise, Miami did have the better of the possession, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Philadelphia Union has in this game. And overall, again, I think both of these teams will be very frustrated that they didn't get all 3 points. I mean, it was just one for the taking, but because of lack of finishing, both teams, of course, aren't able to do so. But at least, I guess, if you're the Union, they're probably happy the fact that they're able to get themselves back to the top of the Eastern Conference. But like I said, NYCFC is coming, and right now NYCFC is probably the hottest team right now in the Eastern Conference, because they've really got themselves up the table and kind of almost is starting to go on a run that's similar to what Montreal is doing right now, which is, when they were in CCL, they were near the bottom of the table, but once CCL is over and these teams can focus just on MLS, they're starting to show the potential and rise up in the table. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Red Bulls versus the Chicago Fire. And for the Fire, it looked like they finally end their winless run in this game against the New York Red Bulls. But in typical Fire fashion, they blew it late because of a boneheaded mistake late in this game. Now, in the first half, just 2 minutes in, I thought Barlow should score here as he basically whiffs on a shot on the doorstep of the goal. And, Slolina, it seems like he was going to easily able to get to it, but he kind of fumbled it a little bit, almost just kind of palms it away very unconvincingly, and in some way that was just enough to get that one away. And Slolina, it was a rough game for him, and for Gaga Slolina, I feel like ever since he has got that pressure of him potentially becoming the next big thing for the U.S. men's national team, or there's even a discussion of where is he going to be committing. Is he going to be committing for the U.S. or is he going to be committing for Poland, because the Polish national team just called him up recently. You wonder, is that getting into his head? And you got to keep in mind, he's still an 18-year-old goalkeeper. Like, that is incredibly young for a goalkeeper, and that usually for goalkeepers, they're always kind of at the top of their game when they get into their late 20s and even into the 30s, because goalkeeping is one position that it does take time to mature, and that we usually don't see the best goalkeeper at the top of the game until they're in their late 20s and even into their early 30s. So for Slolina, he still have a long way to go, and that, I think this performance and really these past month, I'm not going to write Gaga Slolina off that easily, because again, when you're a young goalkeeper, you're going to have these kind of times where things are not going right for you, and that I think this is the other thing that I think the Fire maybe need to be criticized of, the fact that I get that they decided to put Slolina in goal and kind of hands him the keys, but I feel like that's still too early to do so, because again, it's only an 18-year-old goalkeeper, and there's not a lot of 18-year-old goalkeeper in the world that is starting in the top tier for their team day in and day out, and for right reason, because that is still a very young age to just kind of throw a young goalkeeper right into the Fire. But nevertheless, in the 17th minute, there was a penalty that was given to the Red Bulls after Fernandez was brought down by Espinosa, which Morgan was able to put away the penalty to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. Then Morgan thought that he had another opportunity to score his second goal in the Red Bulls' second one, but Slolina was able to rob him from close range, and the Red Bulls were pressing to try to get that second goal, but instead it was the Fire that gets the next goals, as Chris Mueller scored his first goal ever since he came back to MLS from Gutierrez to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Always great to see Mueller back to his best self, and finally scoring his first goal for kind of his hometown club, because he is from the Chicago area. But really, this was kind of against the run of plays, because that was really the first opportunity that Chicago has. So for the Red Bulls, it's got to be frustrated, the fact that they play well in the first half, and then really the first opportunity that Chicago has, they can concede. But we do head to halftime tied at 1 apiece. It wouldn't stay tied long into the second half, as Wyatt Omsberg would score from Shaqiri to give the Fire a 2-1 lead. It was a lovely header there from Omsberg from the corner. But that lead would be short-lived, because 10 minutes later, Harper would score from Fernandez and Amaya to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and that was a howler from Slolina. That was a very Stefan Fry-esque kind of howler, where Harper kind of hits it straight to Slolina, and Slolina just simply dropped it into the goal. And yeah, the Red Bulls, of course, just like that, ties the game up at 2 apiece. Sekulic looked to retake the lead for the Fire, but unfortunately he blazed it high from close range. And then on the other end, Fernandez trying to curl one in, but he hits that one wide. And really, as the time winds down, again, you just like this game, both of these teams were going for the winner, and in this case, going for that third goal. Shaqiri had a chance to score that third goal for the Fire in the 78th minute, but he struck the post on the free kick. But then just 10 minutes later, he would be on target, as he scored here to give the Fire a 3-2 lead. And really, that's the first goal that Shaqiri has scored from open play, because so far the 2 other goals that Xherdan Shaqiri has scored for the Fire has been from the spawn. But this was really coming off of a bad turnover from the Red Bulls in their own half. Like, you cannot turn the ball over in your own half and not expect it to concede a goal, and that is exactly what happened in this one, as the Fire leads it 3-2, and you're thinking that's pretty much game over, right? Well, like I said, this is a Chicago Fire. They always find way to have the jaws. They always have oh god, I forgot what that analogy is. It's something to do with, like, you have they had the victory jaws of victory slip out of them. But anyway, in this one, the Fire had a chance to get that victory, but like I said, in classic Fire fashion, they blew it late, and they blew it late with a boneheaded play here after Klimala was able to score from Fernandez and Cáceres Jr. And the boneheaded play isn't really because of the defending, though, you know, the defending wasn't really that good in this one, because, you know, you got to question how in the world did Klimala was able to find some space on the pullback. But this pullback probably wouldn't have happened if Slolina didn't just kind of came off his lines. And, you know, again, when you're a goalkeeper, you basically taught that when someone is coming to your near post, you don't come off your line and trying to get to it. But Slolina decided to not listen to that advice, because he kind of came out almost like he was going to smother that ball. And, I mean, all that basically does is allow the Red Bulls to pull it back, and it was just an empty net to shoot for Klimala there to tie the game up at 3 apiece. Again, that goal really just concluded a rough night for Gaga Slolina. Probably his worst game in a Flyers jersey, and certainly his worst game in his MLS career. But yeah, in the end, it all finished with a 3-3 tie, and the shots of this one, 12 shots compared to 11 that the Fire has, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Red Bulls had, 3 shots off target compared to 4 that the Red Bulls had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that the Red Bulls has in this one. And again, overall, I don't think either of these teams will be happy coming out of this resort, because, again, for the Fire, they had the chance to end that winless run, and then they decided to throw it away late in this game. And for the Red Bulls, it's kind of frustrated too, because that first win at home continue. And in fact, they actually now become the first team to go 6-game unbeaten on the road, but also 6-game winless at home. Again, it makes no sense whatsoever for this thing. This is probably the craziest start of the season I've ever seen a team go for, and probably the most bipolar of a way a team start a season, where I just don't understand how in the world this team does so well on the road, and yet somehow when they're at home they just cannot able to get a victory. I mean, some might even jokingly said it has something to do with NYCFC probably cursed the stadium with how NYCFC also struggle whenever they play at Red Bull Arena for their home game. But I don't think that kind of extends to the Red Bulls in general, and that, again, it's weird. I could not, I really can't explain why that this is, of course, is the case. I mean, it's just getting to a point where I feel like maybe the Red Bulls would just think about not putting any Red Bulls brand at Red Bull Arena, and just pretend that they're basically the road team. Though I don't know if that could actually work out for them, because, you know, the arena is still named after the Red Bulls, and there's definitely some brand around the stadium that clearly says it's the home stadium of the Red Bulls. So yeah, you know, their weight of their first home win will have to continue. But at least the good news is, even with how bipolar their season is, they're still near the top of the Eastern Conference, and you would think that this team would have been at the top of the Eastern Conference if they could have even just figured out their home form. Like, with a road form with them, it is kind of surprising the fact that they should not be at the first place in the Eastern Conference. Like, every team would die to go unbeaten this early into this season, and yet they did that, but yeah, they're still not at the top of the East because of it. But either way, moving on, in terms of the next match is Minnesota versus the LA Galaxy. So this is one of the 3 games that I did watch in full, and I basically watched it as I was waiting for the start of the Quakes versus Portland Timbers game, and also I watched this on the train while I was at the stadium. And what I saw in this game was a very 2021 Minnesota United performance, where, you know, in 2021, one of the things that frustrates me about the Loons is that, you know, they create chances, but they don't put it away. And sometimes it's because the goalkeeper for the other team decided to go supernova and decided to just not allow any goals, but there was also times that they also missed some big opportunity whenever it gets that crucial moment for them to score a goal. And as I said, it happened again in this one. This was a game that Minnesota should have won if they were just even a little bit more clinical in this one, but they had to settle for a 1-1 draw. And in fact, they almost lost this one 1-2, and that this looked like it was almost the exact same situation like the last game against FC Cincinnati, where they let the away team hang around and this game stay 0-0 for a very long time, and then they give up a goal in the end, and it looked like they were going to drop all 3 points once again. Now, early on, Dibasi heads it high from the corner in the 3rd minute before Dane Sinclair tipped Rivalson shots over from the long range. By the way, it was very weird to hear how Calvin Williams and Kindred D. St. Albans pronounce Rivalson name. I think they pronounce it Revolution, which that's kind of how I originally pronounced it when he of course made his debut for the Galaxy. I thought it was pronounced Revolution, but then the more I hear it, especially from the Galaxy feed, it's been pronouncing Rivalson. And even when the Galaxy is on national television, most of those national television people have pronounced it Rivalson. So I guess maybe Cal and Kindra need to get maybe a lesson in terms of pronouncing name. Though again, they've done a great job so far this season in terms of how to pronounce the names of the player. But it was kind of weird the fact that they pronounce it differently than what I usually heard it. And that, you know, if you're a Galaxy fan, let me know in the comments below, is Rivalson is actually how you pronounce it, rather than what I hear from Cal and Kendra, where for the whole game they would just basically pronounce it Revolution, like almost like Revolution. But there was a lot of possession early, I thought, for the Galaxy, and really some suspect defending once again from the Loons. Costa strike one just wide from 28 yards out, and really I thought in the early bit it was pretty much all Galaxy. Like, it was a slow start for this Minnesota team, which is something that I don't see very often when they're playing at home and at Allianz. But they finally woke up in the 19th minute when Bond denied DJ Taylor, as that was really Minnesota's first opportunity, and Hawane missed one just wide from 10 yards out. And again, Minnesota finally woke up on the attack and are looking to try to get the opening goal. There was a huge shout for a penalty after it looked like Edwards brought down Hawane in the box. And, you know, I might be biased toward this point, but I thought that should have been a penalty. I mean, I feel like Edwards definitely clipped Hawane there. And especially as we get into this review, talk about some of the later games where there was also some controversy surrounding players bringing down a player down in the box. I mean, yeah, I feel like this probably should have been a penalty. But again, this maybe is because I'm biased, because I'm a Minnesota United fan, and I really want to, at that point, really want us to have a chance to go up 1-0 with the way that we really started to dominate the game. Bond then denied Reynoso in the 32nd minute, and again, you know, Bond just, he was standing on his heads in this game. And I'll also say the same with Dane Sinclair making some big save too, but mostly Jonathan Bond was having one of those games where he was just not allowing a goal past him throughout this one. Again, Minnesota has the momentum, but can they find the first goal? The answer is no, because Bond would once again deny Lud, and then on the follow-up, Fragapani basically hits it from the side netting from a tight angle. Lud then went through on goal, but missed that one high, and again, that's kind of classic Robin Lud there. You know, as well as good as the fact that, you know, Robin Lud is once again our only goal scorer for this team, and one of the most consistent goal scorer for this team. He also had these kind of moments where there was an opportunity for him to put one away, and he just missed it very badly. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Bond would deny Hawane from close range. I mean, I really want to see Hawane finally score his first goal, and that wait, unfortunately, will have to continue, as somehow we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. And in the second half, that frustration of inability to finish for Minnesota continued, because Hawane actually went through on goal, but he missed that one wide, and he's fortunate the fact that the flag went up, because if the flag didn't went up, that would have been a really bad miss. Bond then denied Lud from close range in the 53rd minute before Costa lashed one wide from a long range, or actually he missed that one high. And I even wrote, the more that this one stays at 0-0, it feels like it's favored the Galaxy, because it started to really reminds me of the last game against Cincinnati, where I will say that at least for this game, Minnesota is actually trying to score goals, whereas in that game, Cincinnati kind of really grow into the game and eventually stole it at the end. But it just feels like the longer this is going to get 0-0, I just feel like the Loons are eventually going to concede despite how dominant that they look. Because in the 63rd minute, Araujo actually cleared Fragapon these shots off the line, but he did get a second look and he was robbed by Bond. Then on the other end, Dane Sinclair was able to deny Kleshin from long range, before on the other end Denladi missed wide from a tight angle, and then on the other end Araujo missed a sitter from 4 yards out. I mean, it was just end-to-end action up to that point. It was chaos from within during that spell of plays, and that it's just getting to a point where I had to write both teams looked like they were blue ball tonight. Like it just feel like this is a game that if you're not a fan of these teams, that this is going to be like similar to this game between the Union versus Inter Miami, where it just feels like the ball just is not going to be able to find it to the back of net. But at least I think in this game it's even more extreme, because while there was definitely a lot of chances in this one, this game was just one that both goalkeeper was stood on his heads, and that neither of these teams just know how to finish whatsoever. And also I kind of wrote the defense. It looked like it was gas from both teams. Like there was some optional defending throughout these latter part of this game, and yet despite the optional defense, because of the lack of finishing, this game stays at 0-0 until we get to the 82nd minute, when a penalty was given to Galaxy after VAR deemed that Boxall handballed that one in the box, and yeah, that was the right call. I mean, it was pretty clear that Boxall basically handballed. He basically put out an outstretched arm in an unnatural possession to handball that one. And it gives the penalty for the Galaxy, which Sasha Kleshin was able to put away. I was surprised that Chicharito did not take this one, because I think Chicharito was still in this game, and knowing that the Galaxy really need to get Chicharito going, this was an opportunity for them to maybe give their star player a chance to really score a goal and really get himself back into that goal scoring form, because the drought continued for Chicharito after this game. It's now 6 games without a goal for the Mexican international, and I thought Chicharito was going to step up, but instead it's actually Sasha Kleshin, and he actually puts that one away beautifully. I mean, he put in a spot that Dane Sinclair actually, he didn't guess this one right, but even if he gets this one right, he wasn't going to get to that one. And yeah, the Galaxy were leading 1-0, and I'm just thinking, yep, here we go again. This is like the Cincinnati resort, where they drop all 3 points late because they have the inability to finish. But to my biggest surprise, that lead wouldn't last long, because just 5 minutes later, Lud would score from Taylor to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, that's just so peak MLS, with the way that when you saw both teams can't score for 83 plus minutes, and then now we saw 2 goals in a span of 5 minutes. Though the Galaxy had a chance to not equalize, but win the game in the 2nd minute. And again, this miss by Jovic kind of just sums up the game for both of these teams, as he was just wide open from 6 yards out. Like there was clearly a blown assignment there. I mean, I'm sorry to using NFL term with the way of how many missed chances that is, but yeah, I mean, he was just left wide open. I don't know who was marking him there, but he missed that one wide from 6 yards out, and in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. And the shots in this one, 17 shots for the 12 that the Galaxy had, 8 shots on goal for the 4 that the Galaxy had, 6 shots off target for the 4 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And just like what I said about this one, both of these teams will not be happy coming out of this resort. Like, this game was there for the taking, and yet neither of these teams were being very clinical in terms of their finishing, and because of that, I think in the end it's only fair that both of these teams would split a point. But in a Minnesota perspective, this is another game that, again, this feel like 2021 all over again, where I've saw so many of these kind of performances where they look good for when they're playing at home and had a bunch of chances, but just aren't able to put away. And that, again, I think unless if this team figure out this problem, this team is not making the playoffs. I mean, this is really probably the first time I've said it in these past couple of seasons. Well, maybe besides when they start 0-4 to the season, where I legitimately think Minnesota is not going to make the playoffs. And if they do not make the playoffs, there's definitely some big question to make in the offseason, especially with Adrian Heath too, because I think that Heath out kind of drum is banging louder and louder with every drop resort that Minnesota has had at home. And again, I don't know if this is really on Heave in this game, because I thought this was a game where Minnesota played really well, but just the finishing wasn't there. And I mean, it's kind of hard to blame Adrian Heath when he's you can't really blame a coach when a team can't finish in the game, unless maybe you can blame him for the fact that they should be working on this time and time again in training, and they still don't get it right in games. But yeah, that drum is definitely beating louder and louder, and that, again, if this team continue to look like this, I genuinely think they're not going to make the playoffs. And again, that's when in the offseason there's some big decision that this team will have to make. Where do they just tear it down? Because this core that they were trying to build to succeed, it has just not worked whatsoever, and have really got this team to underachieve, even in a worse level than I saw from last season. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the next 4 games that happened in terms of the busy Wednesday night action. So moving on, in the next game, we got the Houston Dynamo and the Seattle Sounders, and this looked like it was one of those games this season where, again, for whatever reason this season, we have seen so many times when a team go down to 10 men, and they tend to be the better team despite that. And it seemed like Houston was going to able to get an equalizer despite down to 10 men, and then as soon as the playing field was even out, it seems like this game was back to an even strength, with the Sounders having the advantage because they have the 1-0 lead, and in the end we're able to hold on to get that 1-0 lead and continue this predictable second half resurgence that we know the Seattle Sounders are always capable to do. Now, in the first half, Ruidíaz did hit one straight to Clark before Pico curls one just wide in the very next play, and I thought both teams getting some early opportunity in this game. Quintero fires one high from 22 yards out before Rowe blasts one into the stands from long range. Quintero then had another opportunity in the 23rd minute, but he hits one straight to Stephen Fry. But then on the other end, in the 28th minute, Ruidíaz would score here from Rodon to give Seattle a 1-0 lead, and that's Alex Rodon that, of course, got the assist. Not his brother Christian, but Alex Rodon in this one. And really, this was one that I think the tap in that Ruidíaz score actually came off a deflection. I think it was Junka, the one that one is deflected in, and have Junka didn't deflect that one in, maybe Clark would have saved it, because with the way how that shot was, or with that tap in that was going, it looked like maybe Ruidíaz was going to hit that one straight to Fry. But on the other end, in the 40th minute, Rodriguez blasts one wide from long range, and Houston was trying to push to get the equalizer. Fafa Pico hits it high from close range in the 44th minute as we head to halftime with Seattle leading 1-0. But in the second half, Coco Carrasquilla would get his second yellow card of the game. And again, in normal circumstances, this means it's bad news for the Houston Dynamo, because they're down a man against the team that won CCL a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like it's no way coming back from them. But again, this season, I just don't know why this is the case, but for whatever reason, when you're down a man, it's almost like a blessing, because you know you're going to dominate the game, and that's kind of how it is for the Dynamo, because in the 58th minute, Parker hits a weak shot straight to Fry, but Avila had a big opportunity to score his first ever MLS goal, but he hits it straight to Fry. I thought Beto Avila had a really good game in this one, and if he can continue that, we might see the benefit of MLS Next Pro, and that there was definitely a lot of excitement coming into this season where MLS finally have kind of like a minor league system similar to MLB, and that they have a chance for these teams to kind of have their affiliate team and put some of their best talented player from their academy right into the second team and really get their chance in the first team. And I think Beto Avila is going to be that guy that's going to almost be a pioneer now, where we're going to see a lot of good player coming out of the league when they come into the first team and really perform well. Though in the 78th minute, Pasher did blast one into the stands, and again, despite being a man down, Houston had dominated the second half and pressing for an equalizer. And if you actually just tune in the game and you don't actually look at the scoreboard, you wouldn't have known that the Houston Dynamo was actually a man down in this one. Though in the 82nd minute, it was Seattle's turn to have a man sent off, as Alex Rodon, of course, gets his second yellow card. Forgot to put there that he, of course, got a second yellow card and he didn't get a straight red. But again, that's bad news for Houston, because once we're back to level playing field, it seems like you don't get that weird boost where you're down a man and you basically get the chance to dominate the game. Because for the remaining of the game, Seattle really kind of locked things down. They actually had a chance to put this game away in the 90th minute when Bruin hits one wide from close range. And yeah, in the end, the Sounders with a 1-0 win against Houston. Shots in this one, 9 shots for the 14 that the Dynamo has, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that the Sounders had, 7 shots off target for the 3 that Sounders has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Houston has, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to the 54% possession that the Seattle Sounders had in this game. And like I said, it's a typical second half resurgence from the Seattle Sounders, to no one's surprise. But for the Houston Dynamo, yeah, this one hurts. And with the way that now they have a really rough stretch, where I think at one point the Houston fleet, and I think Glenn Davis mentioned the fact that the Dynamo is going to be going on a 4-game road trip, and knowing the fact that the Dynamo is a team that has always been infamously known as a team that doesn't win a lot of games on the road. Yikes, this could get bad for the Houston Dynamo, and this looks like it seems like they have really started to come back to where we thought that they were going to be, which is probably going to be a team that's not going to make the playoffs because they're still in a rebuilding stage heading into this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, it's going to be Sporting KC versus the Colorado Rapids, and boy did Sporting KC needed this one. I mean, I talked about how big this game is for Sporting KC, probably the biggest one this season, where how are they going to respond after giving up 7 goals against the Portland Timbers? Well, the way that they respond was to get a 2-1 win against the Colorado Rapids, but in kind of typical Sporting KC fashion, you know that it's going to come with a price, in that, you know, Sporting KC has always been a team that, at least for these past couple years, is kind of always known as a dirty team, and we definitely saw all hell broke loose late in this game, where both teams decided that they're just gonna brawl and basically turn this into a WWE kind of match late in this one. But early on, it was actually a slow start for both of these teams, as the shots were only 1-0 in favor of the Rapids 20 minutes in. Though the first shots for Sporting KC came in the 24th minute, and it went into the back of the net. It's Daniel Showery scoring from Russell to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead. So if you're the Rapids, and certainly for Yarbo, not a great moment to give up a goal on the first shot of the game for the opposition. But that lead wouldn't last long, because 5 minutes later, Estevez would score from Zardes to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and really just self-inflicted mistake from Sporting KC. Confusion between Fontas and Melia there at the back, and you know, Colorado was able to take advantage of that mistake, and the game was all tied up at 1 apiece. They tried to take the lead in the 36th minute when Rubio flashed one wide from 20 yards out, and then Zonas blast one just high from long range in the 44th minute, and we had to halftime tied at 1 apiece between both of these teams. Though in the second half, it wouldn't stay tied for long, because Sporting KC would retake the lead, and it's Daniel Showery again scoring here to retake the lead for Sporting KC at 2-1. And again, you know, just some bad mistake here from either of these defense, this time coming from the Colorado Rapids. Bad defensive play from Abubakar, where he tried to intercept the ball from the pass there coming to Showery, and that he wasn't able to get to one. In fact, he kind of just topo right into the path of Showery and kind of sent him through on goal. And you know, as rough of the season that Daniel Showery has had, well, actually, I shouldn't say rough, because he's had an okay season so far, but not a way compared to last season, when he was really going off last season. But you know, he's not going to miss many of those chances, and he puts that one away to give Sporting KC the lead once again. Costa then tried to bend one in, but that one goes high. Then there was some physical play between both of these teams, and it kind of really ramped up as the fouls were plenty, and there was a lot of stop and go action, and that would really kind of foreshadow what we're going to see late in this game. Because after that, Rubio hits one straight to Melia, and then Melia had to deny Lewis from 12 yards out, as Colorado was really pushing for the late equalizer. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Trusty would get his second yellow card off the game, and then after that, all hell broke loose between both of these teams, because this all started in terms of this mass conversation when there was not a foul that was given after Russell was basically trucked down into the ground, and then Showery kind of retaliated because of that, and he basically kicked oh god, I forgot which Rapids player that he picked. It might have been Rubio, but he basically kicked him there and did kind of like a kick out, and then Estevez definitely took that one personally because he immediately shoved Showery down into the ground. And I think I will say that one, Estevez did get a straight red card, and I think he's already on a yellow card, so therefore it doesn't really matter the fact that is it a straight red or a second yellow. But if Estevez didn't get a yellow card before, I think that would have been harsh for a red card. Yes, it was definitely a big shove, but it's not in a way where I think it's kind of worthy of a straight red. But then there was also sending off from Fontas too, because Fontas decided to be the dumbest player in the world at that moment, where he decided to kind of choke I believe Rubio here. And now that I think about it, it wasn't Rubio the one that Showery basically kicked out on him. It might be another Rapids player, but yeah, Fontas basically kind of choked Rubio there, and that actually happened right in front of the referee. Like, what are you doing? I mean, Fontas, what? You're right in front of the referee, and you decided to do something that the league have always been trying to say, which is if you put your hands in the face or even in the neck of an opponent, it's an automatic red card. And it is not surprised that he, of course, got a red card. And I also kind of even found be very dumbfounded the fact that he was still complaining. Like, what you need to complain about? Like, you clearly put your hand on the throat of Rubio, and again, when you do that, that's a red card every single time. And that, not only the fact that he's going to be suspended in the next game, but I'm pretty sure he's also going to get fined for not leaving the pitch on a timely manner. But also, Showery, he actually didn't get a red card until very late. I was kind of surprised he didn't get a red card until very late. Like, that was pretty obvious that he kicked out there, and that they did go to VAR to check whether or not that is the case. And I thought it kind of took a long time to do so, though I think maybe they're just seeing whether if there's also any other player that deserve a sending off. But in the end, Showery, of course, was sent off, and I won't be surprised it's not just going to be a one-game suspension that he's going to receive. Like, that kicked out was vicious from Daniel Showery, clearly a retaliation move, and when you do that, Disco is definitely going to hand off more than just a one game suspension. And that's got to be very frustrating if you're a Sporting KC, because we know how important that Daniel Showery alongside with Russell is with this team, and now it seems like he's not going to be available at least at the very, very minimum one game. I mean, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 games with the kick out that he had. And in the end, after just such a crazy thing that has happened, Sporting KC did have one last opportunity, but that one actually, they had a free kick that goes straight to Yarbo, and I was kind of surprised the referee doesn't just blow the whistle after this, because the last thing you want is to just continue play, and things would really get more ugly as we hit the end of the final whistle, which surprisingly that wasn't the case. I mean, it was more cool heads after the final whistle between both of these teams, but after a hotly contested contest, Sporting KC does get a 2-1 win, and it's the shots in this one. Only 6 shots compared to 15 that the Rapids had. 4 shots on goal compared to 2 that Sporting KC had. 1 shot off target for this 6 that Colorado has. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that the Rapids had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And again, Sporting KC, they got a much-needed win, but it come with a big cost with the way that now that they're not going to have Showery for these next couple of games. Well, at the very least, the next game against the San Jose Earthquakes. I mean, that's definitely not ideal for them. But for the Rapids, I mean, they also have a couple of players that got sent off in this game and not available, so it's going to really hurt them too. But it hurts them more because of the fact that they were on the losing end after just, I'm pretty sure Disco is going to really look into this mass confrontation, and I'm pretty sure both of these teams might even get fined because of that. Though, I think, the rule is if you get a first mass confrontation, it's not really a fine, but because of how ugly this kind of got, I won't be surprised Disco would just automatically hand fines to these teams, and maybe a couple of players might get more than the 1-game suspension after getting a red card in this one. But we'll definitely find that out, and I'll probably talk about that in the next news of the week. episode I'll talk about next week. But moving on, in terms of the next game, is Nashville and Montreal, and what a big win this is for Nashville SC, because coming into this game, at least for the past 8 games, nobody's been able to figure out Montreal, and that Montreal has been really the hottest team in the league coming into this one. But for Nashville, they kind of shut them down for the most part and got them big 3 points and kind of bounced back after that tough result that they had against the Houston Dynamo. Now, just 1 minute into this game, Sapon fired one wide from close range, as I thought Nashville kind of came out the gate strong, though there wasn't really a lot of chances in this one. In fact, the next chance came in the 28th minute, and it was in the back of the net. It's Alex Mule scoring from Willis to give Nashville a 1-0 lead, so a very rare time that you see a goalkeeper ends up on the assist chart, but when that happens, it's basically a Route 1 ball. And it was a great Route 1 ball from Willis, but even a better first touch from Mule, just get through on goal and put a beautiful shot that I think that, is definitely going to be an early contention for goal of the week. In fact, I should have wrote goal of the week with a question mark, because that definitely has the ideal kind of candidate of potentially winning goal of the week. Lapinainen then tried to equalize for Montreal, but he puts a curler that goes wide. And then Mukta hits one straight to Reza before Kamara hits one straight to Willis too, as we head to halftime with Nashville leading 1-0. But in the 51st minute of the second half and coming out of the gate, Nashville would take a 2-0 lead, and it's Hani Mukta scoring for Sapon to give Nashville a 2-0 lead. I mean, that combination is definitely familiar, especially with the way that, Hani Mukta once again had a really good game in this one, and rightfully so, being on the score sheet. Though that 2-goal lead quickly evaporated to 1, because Montreal did get one back, and it's Kai Kamara that was able to get one back, and he definitely had to pay the price to do so, because when he hits that one in, I think he kind of got caught in the face when Willis was also coming off his lines to get to that one. But nevertheless, it's a good goal to have, because not only give Montreal one back, but it's also a historic goal for Kai Kamara himself, and a milestone moment, as that was his 133rd goal, which means he is now tied 4th all-time in terms of goals score in MLS history, and tied with Jaime Moreno with 133 goals. Now, obviously, I don't think Kai Kamara is going to reach the level that Wando has, and in fact, I've mentioned before, I don't think we'll ever see a moment where there's going to be a player that's going to come close to Wando. I mean, there's a couple of players that could potentially do so. I mean, for a long time we thought Joseph Martinez was going to do so, but now it seems like Martinez has been having some injury prone, and he really had slowed down his progress. And then there was also a time where we thought Kai Kamara might reach that too, because he was really creeping up on the top goal score of all time in MLS. But Wando, it turns out he would score like 20 more goals after he scored his 146 to break Donovan's record for the all-time goal scored in MLS. But, for Kai Kamara, you still have a chance to maybe reach Donovan's mark. I mean, I know he is definitely getting up to that age, but as long as teams still give him a chance to score, which I'm pretty sure that teams are going to continue to give him chances once he leaves Montreal, because you always find a way to end up with a team that needs him, and that congratulations to Kai Kamara there, scoring his 133rd goal, and now tied with Jaime Moreno for the 4th all-time in terms of the goal scoring chart in MLS. Now in the 62nd minute, Kyoto hits one straight to Willis before on the other end, Mukta tried to go for a hat trick, but his shot was deflected wide. Miller then flashed one wide from long range. I mean, that was a powerful shot there from Kamal Miller, but he puts that one just wide. And really, as the time winds down, while Montreal was pressing for an equalizer, that when Nashville need to hold on to that 1-goal lead, they're going to go with their usual low block. And I've mentioned many times, when Nashville goes into that low block, that's bad news if you have to face them, because they're when they go into that low block, it is a living hell to trying to break them down. Though Waterman did try to tie it up late for Montreal, but he missed wide from a long-range effort that really never troubled Willis. But yeah, in the end, Nashville with a big 2-1 win to end Montreal 8-game unbeaten stretch. And the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 8 that Nashville has, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that Montreal has, 5 shots off target two that Nashville has. One shots as blocked compared to two that Montreal has, and Montreal did have the better of the possession. 56% possession compared to the 44% possession that Nashville has in this game. And, you know, for Montreal, I mean, yes, they're going to be disappointed that they lost this one, but, you know, I don't think there's any shame the fact that they lost to Nashville, knowing the fact that Nashville is really going to start to establish Geodis Park as an absolute fortress. And also, you know, when you go on such a long unbeaten run, it's always going to eventually come to an end, and that seems like it has come to an end for Montreal, but it's a good opportunity for them to build up another unbeaten streak starting next week. But now moving on into the next match is Vancouver and FC Dallas. And, you know, for Dallas, it looked like they play a perfect road game in this one, and then, yeah, the second half happened, and then the last 20 minutes, it kind of got away from them, and that Vancouver kind of woke up, and then getting that crucial equalizer that really kind of flipped the script into this game, and ultimately give the Whitecaps a 2-1 win. Now, early on, from the kickoff, Baudisimo tried to chip Maurer from the halfway line. I accidentally almost hit my computer there. In fact, that was kind of almost everybody's reaction, like, whoa, what the heck is Michael Baudisimo trying to weave in through from the halfway, or trying to chip Maurer from the halfway line. I mean, I've seen that happen before, but there's a reason we don't see that happen often, because most of the time when you try to do that, it's a wasted effort. You usually don't see a goalkeeper getting chipped from halfway line, because most of the goalkeepers are probably already super focused when the kickoff has happened. But yeah, Baudisimo tried to maybe fool Maurer or caught Maurer off his mark, but unsurprisingly it didn't work. Cavallini then fired one wide from close range before Fiera fired one just wide from close range in the 12th minute. Arriola then puts it just high from 22 yards out from the free kick, and I thought Dallas really started to dominate this game, and they were pressing for that first goal. Cropper was able to deny O'Brien in the back post, but right on the stroke of halftime, Dallas got their much-deserved lead. It's Arriola scoring from Fiera and O'Brien to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas, and Cropper basically got 5-hole there. Like, I mean, with the way that Arriola hits that one, basically gone under the knees of Cropper, and that gives Dallas a 1-0 lead. Though that lead looked like it was short-lived, because Raposo tried to give the Whitecaps a late equalizer before halftime, but he fires that one high as we head to halftime, with Dallas leading 1-0. Though in the second half, Raposo tried to do the same thing he did right on the stroke of halftime, and once again, this time it also missed just high. Cropper then tipped for fan shot over in the 49th minute, but then we fast forward in the 71st minute, and this is when the momentum changes. It's Brian White first scoring from Gutierrez and Talbot to give the Whitecaps the equalizer, and you just kind of sense that after when the Whitecaps have scored the equalizer, they definitely felt the momentum, because after Dahomey hits one straight into the side netting, and as I mentioned, momentum was with the Whitecaps as they were pushing late for the lead. They had that chance to do so in the 90th minute when a penalty was given to Vancouver after Cirillo brought down Veselinovic in the box, which Cavallini was able to put away the penalty, and the Whitecaps basically kind of stole this one as they win 2-1 against FC Dallas. The shots in this one, 8 shots compared to 12 that Dallas had. Both teams had 3 shots on goal. Both teams had 4 shots off target. 5 shots that was blocked for the one that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, Dallas did have the better possession. 57% possession compared to 43% possession that the Whitecaps had in this game. And, you know, for Dallas, kind of a frustrating game, because, again, they had this one looked like one for a long time, but how many times when you're on the road and that you only score one goal on the road, there's always times that lead is not going to hold on. And, you know, in the case of the Vancouver Whitecaps, one thing we know about the Whitecaps this season is that this is a team that is hard to beat when they're playing at home at BC Place. Like, not a lot of things has gone right for the Whitecaps, but at least one thing that had definitely gone right for this team is that when you play them at home, expect not to walk out with all 3 points, and in this case, that is exactly the case for FC Dallas. As you know, they didn't even get a point in this game because of the Whitecaps scoring a late goal, unlike how the Quakes were able to do so in the last game, despite I even said that was a disappointing result, because the Quakes also had a chance to get all 3 points, and then they gave up a goal late in that one to tie the game at all 3 apiece. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last two games that happened in terms of the busy Wednesday night action in MLS. But yeah, moving on in terms of the next match is Austin and LAFC, and I'm wearing the Verde again because Austin finally got that statement win that they've been looking for throughout this whole season and may have silenced some of those critics of the fact that this team is only good because they're playing a cakewalk schedule. Now, I will also say this, those same critics might have pointed out that, yeah, there was definitely some controversial call that got against LAFC late in this game, which we'll definitely get to talk about those controversial call, including that maybe LAFC could have had 2 penalty late in this game to salvage a 2-2 draw. Now, in the first half, 5 minutes in, Cifuentes hits it high from long range before I thought LAFC really dictate the play early, which, again, that's something that LAFC have been trying to work on because, you know, this is a team that we know they are a second half team and that they're trying to get off to a good start to maybe get themselves a goal or 2 so that they don't have to work so hard in the second half. Maswowski hits it wide from 10 yards out, but then in the 13th minute, Austin takes the lead, and it's Gabrielson, the one that scores to give Austin a 1-0 lead. And in fact, I forgot to write the word ATX here, because anytime when a team scores, always write the team name. So yeah, forgot to put, there we go. In the 13th minute, Gabrielson, of course, gets the lead for Austin. And not only the fact that that was kind of against the run of plays for Austin to score there, but it was coming off of a bad turnover from LAFC in the box. And how many times I've said before, when you turn the ball in your own box, yeah, you're basically asked to score on, and it's no surprise that Austin was able to take advantage. And yeah, they leads at 1-0 in this game. Stuver then denied Maswowski, and on the second effort, Blessing was also denied by Stuver. I mean, Brad Stuver, he really gone supernova in this game. Like, he basically were stood on his head most of the time, making some big save to prevent LAFC to get the equalizer. And then in the 20th minute, Austin almost made it 2-0 when Jerussi struck the post from 10 yards out. And again, LAFC, despite they were dominating and created a lot of chances, they're also creating a lot of self-inflicted mistake at the back, which sounds similar, right? Yeah, that's basically LAFC in 2021 in a nutshell, as this feels like it's almost like how I mentioned Minnesota kind of show a throwback of their 2021 season. Well, this game looked like it was LAFC showing a throwback of their 2021 season, because no matter how much they dominate the game and create chances, they're unable to put it away. And then at the back, they look very shaky and create some self-inflicted mistake to cause them to give up goals on the other end. Though Stuver did rob Opoku in the front post in the 24th minute, and I kind of thought that despite the pressure that LAFC was putting, Austin was defending masterfully. I mean, this probably was the best defensive performance I've seen from this Austin defense this whole season. And mind you, this is an Austin defense that has been one of the bigger question coming into the season. And there's times that they have buckled, but it's definitely done much better than I thought that they would. But this game, they were definitely on another level. Maswowski then went through on goal in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, but he could not get a shot off, and it kind of ran into Stuvert, and both players kind of went down for a minute because of it. But we do head to halftime with Los Verdes leading 1-0, and in the second half, Wolf did drive a 20-yard shot off to the side netting, and that's Owen Wolf, the one that of course hits it, not Josh Wolf, the head coach. But you know, he definitely bring his son into this game, and it was actually his first start in this game, and I thought he looked really good and showed some of that raw ability that he definitely has. But LAFC continued to push to try to crack open this resistant Austin defense. Rango hits it wide from close range in the 60th minute before Stuvert denied Arango from long range in the 68th. And then Stuvert would deny Palacio in the 70th minute. And again, LAFC was knocking on the door, but can they beat Stuvert, who again, he just trying to stood on his head as long as possible to try to preserve this 1-0 lead. Vela then puts it wide from a 20-yard effort, and you know, if Vela was in form, that one would definitely go in. And as I mentioned, you know, Vela this season, he's been really struggling ever since he had that hat trick on opening day. Like, he has not looked like the same Vela that we've seen before. But then in the 80th minute, Austin would get that second crucial goal to look to put the game away, as Fagundes would score here to give Austin a 2-0 lead, and you're just thinking, well, the game is over. Looked like Austin finally got that statement win, right? Well, this is where we start to talk about some of the controversy of this game, because in the 83rd minute, a penalty was given to LAFC after Stuver brought down Vela in the box, and that was a very debatable penalty, because when you look on the replay, it definitely looked like Vela kind of embellished that a little bit. And Carlos Vela is a player that has a history of going down to the ground a little bit too easily and trying to draw a penalty because of that. And I feel like this was, again, the case here, and that, there wasn't really much contact that Stuver had on Vela, and that they also didn't go to VAR in terms of it. Though, again, I know I said they didn't go to VAR. They kind of did with the way that, I mentioned now VAR is centralized in the Atlanta region, and that I think Atlanta did kind of look into it, but I guess maybe they didn't see enough, which again I don't think that's the case. I feel like this shouldn't have been a penalty, which Vela basically puts that one away to give life for LAFC. But then just 6 minutes later we get another controversial call, and this time there was no penalty that was given to LAFC after VAR deemed that Keller did not commit a foul from Palacio in the box. And to me, if you want me to compare this penalty call to the last one, or I would say that this potential penalty kick call compared to the last one, I would say this one looked more like a penalty than the last one. And my only thing I can think of why they decided to not call a penalty is maybe they saw how yes, Keller did make contact with Palacios, but the way that Keller kind of pulled back his leg a little bit, and then Palacio kind of went down on the ground. Maybe Palacio kind of embellished a little bit of that. Like that's the only thing I can think of. Maybe that's why they didn't call a penalty. Or the other thing that I think that the reason why they didn't call this penalty is because this is a makeup call. Like this is basically a makeup call for the last one, where again the last one I didn't think that was a penalty, and maybe the VAR official or even the referee that look in VAR, he might have some regrets now. So this was just kind of a makeup call. And yeah, in the end, Austin was able to hold on to win 2-1, despite LAFC did push late to try to get the equalizer in stoppage time. And the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 9 that Austin had, 7 shots on goal compared to 2 that Austin had. Both teams had 6 shots off target, 5 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Austin has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Austin has in this game. And again, for Austin, they got that statement win, albeit in a very controversial way, but they don't care because they needed this. Like, this is a win that will prove that Austin, of course, it is for real, and especially now that they're at the top of the Western Conference and actually are leading the Supporter Shield standing. They definitely have every right to once again bang their chest and saying, look, all of you that said that we were on a cakewalk schedule, look what we just did. We, of course, beat LAFC. But, like I said, there's going to be still doubter that said that, yes, they won because of some controversial call late in the game. And also, let's see if they can continue that, because the schedule, again, does not get any easier for Austin. They're still in the beginning of this murderous roll run that they're going to have to go through in these next 10 games. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, we got the game that I went to, which is the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Portland Timbers. The curse is finally over. I've finally seen the Quakes win when I'm at PayPal Park. And honestly, with all curses and all things that always go against some people, or in the case of myself, I knew eventually this was going to come to a close. I mean, the Quakes this season at home, yes, I know. No, I said that the curse, of course, exists because, the only time they lost was when I'm actually at the stadium, and that's the last time I went to a game. But when you look at how the Quakes played this season at home, this was a very kind of Quakes home performance where this team just don't give up when they're at home. Like, this is a team that even before Alex Carvalho, when they're playing at home under Almeida, and as bad as Almeida was with the Quakes in the beginning of the season, at least they were still showing some resilience. And that I think the only difference you can say is that under Almeida, they show some resilience to get a draw out of the game. But now under Carvalho, we're seeing that same resistance that they show at home, but now it's turning into 3 points, and that's definitely great news for the Quakes to trying to kind of almost pretend that they're back into a a contention for the playoffs. But in the first half, there was really not much happening in the first 10 minutes of this game, even though the Quakes dominate possession and Portland was going with their usual low block that they usually like to do whenever they go on the road. The first shots came in the 11th minute as Jimmy Chara hits it high from 10 yards out. And then in the 18th minute, Paredes would score from Larea to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. It was not great set-piece defending from the Quakes and from the corner. And set-piece defending was a big problem for the Quakes in this game. And we're starting to now see the same issue that the Quakes had in 2020. Where, remember in 2020, they were very bad in terms of set pieces. And most of that is because of the fact that, Almeida do the man marking system, and he even do it in the set piece, and it just did not work whatsoever. But under Carvalho, at least now up to that point, that's now 2 straight set piece goals that they conceded, and it would actually end up to be 3 straight set piece goals that they have conceded on the other end. But yeah, that gives the Timbers a 1-0 lead, and really that the Quakes, I thought early on it was a slow start for them. Like, they looked really flat on the attack, besides besides the fact that they also weren't doing very well on the defensive end. Nathan Verzerka then blasted that wide from long range as the Timbers were trying to double their lead. But then in the 32nd minute, the Quakes got an equalizer, and it's Jackson Yule that scored from Ibobasi to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Like, part of me really want Ibobasi to score in this game, because I just wonder what his celebration is going to be. Is he going to be a guy that is just going to put his hands up and not celebrate because he scored against his former team? Or is he going to just celebrate like crazy because, I know Ibobasi was, during his latter time with the Timbers, he was definitely not happy with the team, and I think in some way he kind of almost asked to be traded to another team. But yeah, he didn't score a goal in this one, though he did get on the assist chart, and it gives the Quakes the equalizer. And also, what a diving header that was from Jackson Yule. Like, anytime when you see a diving header, it's very spectacular to see, almost as spectacular as a bicycle kick. But whenever you see a player with diving header and he's able to connect it well and hits it into the back net, it is an absolute goal also. And you could even say that this could be maybe in contention for goal of the week too, though again, I mentioned the goal that Alex Mule scored earlier in this review, and how I think maybe that one will be just a little bit better than the diving header that you basically scored here. Though nevertheless, great goal from Jackson Yule, a player that doesn't score a lot of goals, and that ties the game up at 1 apiece, and that really gave momentum for the Quakes. Like, that goal really woke them up and really energized the attack. Though Mark Sinkowski did have to deny Paredes from 12 yards out, so Christian Paredes very active early in this one. Then on the other end, Ivasic denied Espinoza on the free kick. Cal then blasted wide from long range. It was another great game from K. Cal, who he has really started to turn it on this season. And in fact, he actually ends up on the assist chart in the very next goal, because right on the stroke of halftime, the Quakes would take the lead for the first time. It's Jamero Montero scoring from Cal to give the Quakes a 2-1 lead. And this really was a goal that just gave the Portland Timbers a taste of their own medicine, because you know how the Timbers love to go on the counter attack and love to score goals from that, because that's kind of like the bread and butter. Well, the Quakes basically decided to give them a taste of their own medicine, because this came from a lightning counter attack from the Quakes, and K. Cal with a lovely feed to Montero, but even a better finish from Jamero Montero. Like, it's not easy to try to hit that one perfectly first time, but Montero did exactly that. And the game the game is now with the Quakes as they lead 2-1 in favor of the Timbers heading into the second half. But as we head to the second half, and oh, by the way, I think this is probably the first time that the Quakes actually have a lead heading into halftime, because I don't recall that they actually had a lead in any of the free wins. I mean, the one against Colorado, I don't think they score a goal until like the 60th minute, and then obviously the other game that they won against Seattle, I think they were down like 2-0 heading into halftime. So yeah, I think this might be the first time that they actually have a lead heading into the second half, but I kind of knew that lead is not going to last long, because knowing the fact that this is a Quakes team that always find ways to blow leads, it seems like it's maybe the Timbers are going to get themselves back into this game. And it seems like they realized that, because Savarese did bring in his cavalry, as both Blanco and Williamson was summoned in this game, and while Blanco wasn't really effective throughout this game, Williamson was definitely the case, because in the 49th minute, after K. Cal tried to double the Quakes lead but missed wide, and then Mark Sinkowski basically denied Tuiluma from the free kick. Tuiluma would score here from Williamson to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and again another bad set piece defending from the Quakes. Like, they're just getting, these defenders are just getting beaten by these attacker that heads it in, and when that happens, that's not great defending from the Quakes. Like, when you defend a set piece, you do not want your attacker or whoever you are marking get beat on you, because if that happens, yeah, that's definitely bad. But yeah, that ties the game up at 2 apiece, though I thought the Quakes started to put some pressure on the Timbers and were looking to retake the lead. Montero blasted wide from long range in the 71st minute before Nathan Frazaka hits it straight to JT Marcinkowski. But then in the 82nd minute, the Quakes would retake the lead. It's Montero that gives the Quakes a 3-2 lead, and this actually came moments after Diego Chara was subbed off in this game. And on my way back on the train, I was also sitting near some of the Timbers fan that attended this game, and they mentioned the fact that they were kind of baffled the fact that Diego Chara was subbed off in this game for Darren Asprilla, and I agree with them. I mean, and at that time I was kind of confused too. Like, I couldn't believe that you know, they just bought off Diego Chara, that has been really the centerpiece of that defense, and what really is kind of hold the linchpin to that Timbers defense. And he is basically subbed off for a guy that is Darren Asprilla, and that, you know, Darren Asprilla is starting to kind of look like the Darren Asprilla that we seen before, where he's not allowed to score a goal unless it is October, and last year it feels like it's just kind of an exception, because yeah, he did not have a good impact coming into this game, and it's unsurprising right after when that substitution is made, the Timbers decided to be very poor on the defensive end, and they give up a goal to give the Quakes the lead again. But knowing the fact that this is the Quakes, and knowing the fact that I've seen this before, remember last week when they led 3-2 late in the game? I mean, it was really butt-clenching moment time for me, and pretty sure for that 11,000 fans that was inside PayPal Park. I mean, there was a lot of empty seats for this game, because, you know, it is a midweek game, and also the Quakes are dealing with a tough time. But, you know, I'm pretty sure those fans, including myself, realized that, yeah, we'll see whether or not if that lead is going to hold on. Though Remedi did try to finish this one off, but he puts it way high in the 85th minute. The game, I thought it kind of become open late in the game, which I didn't like the fact that the game was so open, because I know the fact that the Timbers is a very dangerous team in transitional play. So when you play an open game like what the Quakes were doing late, yeah, I don't think that's the right tactics for Cavallo. Now, the good news is that Cavallo kind of realized that, and he decided to be a little bit more pragmatic late in this and just trying to hold on to the lead, which in the end, the Quakes were able to do it as they win 3-2 in this one, getting their 3rd win in their last 5 games. And the shots in this one, 17 shots for the 9 that the Timbers had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Timbers had, 3 shots that was off target for the 5 that the Quakes had, 8 shots that was blocked for the 1 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that the Portland Timbers has in this game. And yeah, you know, for the Quakes, I mean, again, you know, I think this is a team that I've said before, as good as a run that they are, I still think this team is not going to make the playoffs, because, you know, the issue with the defense in this team is still evident, and that, you know, unless if they maybe get a defender in the summer transfer window, which they could do so. I mean, we saw it last season when they brought in Nathan in that back line. It really solidified that defense. But if they can figure that out, and also realize that Calvo is not the answer, because I saw throughout this game, yeah, Calvo was absolutely horrendous in this end. There was so many times that he was caught out of position, and so many times I just like you know, it really just almost make me feel very frustrated to see him out of position. I'm like, what the heck are you doing, Calvo? You're not playing under Almeida anymore. You're playing under Calvallo, who actually knows what he's doing. But yeah, you know, if they can maybe sort out that defense a little bit, and at least, you know, the good thing I've seen with the Quakes, and a huge improvement, is that attack is finally showing its potential. I mean, we knew that this attack is good, but I think now under Alex Cavallo, the attack finally is hitting on all cylinders, and, you know, they need to continue to do so, because again, this defense, I think that's kind of the only thing that that makes me worry. And that again, these high scored resort that the Quakes are having, it's not sustainable. Like that, it's going to kind of get back to its ugly head. But at least for now, with the whole Almeida situation now done and dusted, and now just kind of watch this team and enjoy how they play again. The way that they play, and it's been fun to watch, and that's just something I don't usually say as a Quakes fan. I mean, I've always been very frustrated with either some bad soccer that they play during the Dominican era, or just the crazy but makes no sense kind of play that Almeida is undering. It's great to see that this team is playing fun soccer, and also just started to get themselves back into the playoff race, even though, like I said, I still refuse to believe that this team is a playoff team and will make the playoffs this season, even with the good run that they've been on. But either way, that is pretty much it in terms of reviewing these 10 games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 10 games that happened in the middle of the week. Of course, tomorrow I will be doing the preview in terms of the weekend's action, because again, anytime when you have games that's happening in the middle of the week and also happen on the weekend, I have to kind of just do review, preview. I also was thinking about doing news of the week this week, but I decided not to, because there really isn't a lot of news to talk about other than the Enro Messi link with Inter Miami news, which I thought maybe I should make a news of the week video about that, but then I feel like, what, I've heard this story so many times. I'm not gonna repeat myself again in a news of the week episode of how, oh look, this time looks like Messi is linked with Inter Miami, and it seems like he's gonna get some stake in the ownership. When how much is that going to be the truth? Until maybe in these next couple of days, that is gonna die down, and that rumor is just some nonsense rumor. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.